Okay, so yeah, it's Curtis and we need to hear from This is Marriage UK, and this is our first shoot of asking the question, where are the men
in the church available for committed relationships and marriage?
Yep, and they're in the background listening and smiling, and they are ready to go. We're going to have this discussion because we need to understand where is the potential for marriage and relationships in the church. It's been a pressing question for so long, and we're addressing it now with our research and our discussions. Looking forward to seeing you soon.
Just for a general intro, is that all right?
Yeah.
Sorry, they give you a minute. Give him a minute. Hey everyone, welcome to our second discussion on where are the men in the church available for committed relationships and marriage. I have a great panel with me today, and we are going to chop up this conversation and provide some answers, or maybe not, for you.
Hi, I'm Darren, 50, married, and my take on this is that one, I don't know, and two, they're out there somewhere, and we've got to find them and help them to be available and ready to do what God has called them to do.
Hi, I'm Tara. I'm 24, living in London at the moment, and yeah, look, I have to say I married somebody who wasn't in the church. So yeah, look, that's my context. So I don't really know, but hoping to sort of dig our way through. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Callan. I am 25. Oh, I'm not 25. Sorry.
He's 26 now. He's 50.
Sorry.
I'm 43.
We'll keep it. Hi. Hi, my name's Callan. I'm 26 and I'm from Australia. It's a pleasure to be on this panel today, and I'm not too sure where the men are. I mean, I'm here. Some of my friends are here, but other than that, I can't wait to discover where the rest of them are. Yeah.
Hi, my name's Scully. I'm 50 and I'm happily married to a man that I met in church. I appreciate there aren't that many men in church now, but I did go to a church in Berkshire a few months ago, and there were definitely men there.
Let's go.
I forgot to mention Melbourne.
Oh. That will definitely. Listen, guys, I really thank you for having this conversation with us. It's a tricky one because it's something that I feel that is on the tips of our tongues, especially women who are in my circle who want to be in committed relationships and married. They're always saying, well, there's no men in the church. There's no one around. So, what are we to do with that? And we know with the ratios that we're looking at, women are roughly about 65% church attendees and men are 35%. And so if there are any men here, they're getting rushed. Do you know what I mean? There's only few and far between to choose from. So my question to you is a question of our research, which is, where are the men in the church ready for committed relationships and marriage in UK urban churches? So I think I'm going to start with you, Scully.
Okay, thank you, Juanita. That's a really good question, because for me it's a question of committed, ready, serious. Because I've got a lot of young ladies in my life who are telling me that the men know that they've got choices and they are making the most of those choices. So the word committed is missing. That I'm not saying this applies to all men, but that seems to be a bit of a pattern. So I think that the idea of the men that are committed, I believe that they are there. I believe my son is going to be one of them. But yeah, we just need to take our time and make lots of friends to find the right ones.
Can I ask you just to open up a little bit more about the fact that you kind of alluded to that they have choice, so they actively know they have choice, and then maybe I wouldn't say taking advantage of that choice, but taking their time in the pool that they have.
I think it's fair to say that when you have choice, the way that you meet with people is different from if you're a woman who's thinking about her fertility and who's thinking about wanting to settle down. It's a little different, and I think that we have to start there. Women have got this clock that makes them more intentional in their search, and men don't have that same clock, and so they can take their time, and that's what we're seeing.
Okay, thank you. Tara, can I ask you the same question?
If you don't mind repeating it, please.
So the question is, and the question of the research is, where are the men ready for committed relationships and marriage in UK urban churches? And I know you're from Oz, so maybe you can do some parallels and
Yeah.
some crossovers.
Yeah, it's like a double issue, really, isn't it? Because, like you said, the statistics is that we've clearly got more women in church to start off with. So, say you've got a portion of those women who aren't super interested in marriage, and then a same portion of men. You know, clearly it doesn't align. It's kind of like we're losing out more as women. If there are women looking for marriage, then there's less of a chance that there will be a man who is interested in marriage as well. Yeah, so where are they? It's a tricky one, but I wonder, is it worth addressing the issue of, where are they in the first place? And then hopefully, as we cultivate relationships in the church, men and women together and building a relationship with God, that maybe then gradually over time, that marriage issue can sort of then be resolved, I wonder. Yeah.
And I think that this is what this is doing, is that where are they in the first place?
Yeah.
So where do you think they are in the first place?
Look, I think, I mean, as church is ultimately a community, and we come here because we look for belonging and for connection, and to have people ride with us through our highs and through our lows, to know that we're seen through that, we're understood. And so if there aren't men here, then, I mean, that's an essential human need, to have belonging and connection. So they're getting it from somewhere. If it's not in the church, then I don't know, where is it? And I think, like, ultimately, if your mates aren't in church, you're not going to be in church. There's less of a reason to be, because if church is a community and you've got no one that you feel like you can connect with, you're less inclined to go there in the first place. So I guess they're going to places where they feel like they can connect. Maybe it's like a chicken and the egg kind of situation of like, oh, well, there's no men here to bring the men in the first place kind of thing, or what started that? I'm not sure, but yeah, they're somewhere, but I wonder if it's a similar kind of place to church, but obviously
Like
not
the
here.
football stadium,
Maybe. Yeah.
The gym.
the gym,
Yeah.
in front of the PlayStation, the TV. No community there though. No, you do have online communities, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there is still a sense of belonging there as well.
Yeah.
Darren, let me get your thoughts.
It's a tough question to answer for me, because I'm in church, and a lot of my friends are married and also in church, and they have families, so it's tough. I think I was in a barber shop yesterday, so there's a lot of men there. They're in this football stadium, definitely. So community happens regardless. I think the challenge that we have in the church, it is twofold. I think there is something wrong with church that men are not able to connect with, but I also think there's something, oh gosh, it's horrible. There's something wrong with men that they're not able to connect with church, and that's a real issue. And I don't mean wrong as in they need to be fixed, as in there's a problem of them gelling together, because in my church, I think sometimes it's just me, and then another man will just like slowly creep in, and we haven't even got that many, and our numbers are like probably really low. So the challenge is really, I think, identifying what is going on, why men don't want to come to church in certain places, but the numbers are rising in other places, because they are rising. That's the current trend, and it's interesting. When you look on YouTube, there are loads of men professing their faith, and they're quite vocal, and they're quite, but actual church attendance is not the same. It doesn't equate. So I don't know, but I think I do know, and I'm not sure if what God has shared with me is the real issue. But I want to unpick that, because it's an interesting thought, rather than actually just going, this is what God said, rather let's just walk there first. Yeah.
I was intrigued to know, but we're going to walk there. We're going to walk there. Callum, I'm just going to ask you as well, because I know also you're coming from Oz, over here for a short while. But any parallels with Australia and here?
Yeah, definitely. I think I joked earlier saying, all the men are at my church in Melbourne, but I think it represents kind of location there are these pockets of men in church, and what do those pockets have that these other places don't have? Is it the fact that these men know that there are men here, and so my mates are here, so let's all go to these little hubs? Not sure. Off the back of what Tara was saying, we've heard this talk about the third place. There's a need for a third place other than work and home. For a lot of people, that's the pub, the football club. It's the other club. I'm talking men and women, whatever clubs and little places we have. For a lot of people, there is no third place. For a lot of people, church is the third place, but those are mostly women, right? Yeah. And so when we ask the question, where are the men, there's kind of some assumptions, I think, that are made in that question. Are you asking where are the young men? Are you asking where are the straight men? Are you asking where are the men that are educated? Because what I see, this is just my personal 2 cents, in our Western society, churches are really optimized for middle-class, educated people. Okay. We arrive, you have to know how to small talk, you sit and listen to some music, that's fine, then you hear a lecture, you know how to take notes, you need to how to sit still, listen to this, be actual smart enough to take in what you're hearing, apply it to your life, and these are educated, skills that you kind of need to have to work in church. Yeah. So I think looking at some church activities and who they're best suited for might help us in our discussion.
So you're saying in specifically maybe even I don't know, taking a time to, for church leaders and even for church members to look at the needs of this specific group as opposed to just taking it for granted that they're here, that's enough, but actually looking into what do you guys actually need here?
Yeah, I think so. What do you need and what do you want? What is it that I guess it is what you need. What do you need that will keep you, see, for a lot of people it's about ticking, checking off, doing the roll call, just do the register, who's here, who's not, what's the numbers of our church? But it's not about that, is it? It's about who's got a standing relationship with God, on and on and on, right? So yeah, what do we need to keep men here, not for the sake of keeping them here, but to provide true, genuine connection with each other, with God, yeah.
I'm thinking out loud, and I'm thinking about your household. You have 2 men in your house. Mm-hmm. And obviously you hear their conversations about faith and about their attendance to church. What is their view? What are you picking up as a mum and as a wife in the home about the relationship that men have with church and the relationship that men have with women in the church?
I think from my husband's perspective, church is very female and he is looking for a space that's got less estrogen, to be honest. And he does that. He's got like a group of guys that also church guys that he's friends that he's got. Interestingly enough, a lot of them are the husbands of my friends. We've built our own community. They've got a group called the Goodfellas. They meet up, they go for dinner, they support each other, they do stuff as guys. So I'm thinking of that being church outside of church.
Okay.
So church outside of that lecture theatre that you've just described as a space where men can just be, where they can say, oh, does your wife do that? Oh, she's getting on my nerves too, and it's safe. And then, so I think that's important for men to have at least one friend that they can meet outside of the 4 walls. And I'm saying this from my husband's perspective. I'm interested in what it is for the men that are here. And then the other piece of it, I think for my son, a lot of his, because he's 20, so he's in that younger age, but I think a lot of his perspectives are about, again, community. He's a musician, so there is a bit of that, the music community doing their things together. But I think there is also a thing of, they go out and eat together, they do stuff beyond the 4 walls of a church. And I think that is so important, to have that community. And I think for young men, they need, thankfully, my husband is an amazing role model. Yeah. Right. So my son has that role model so Jude has that role model in the form of Antonio. Yeah. But I've known some young men of a similar age who don't have that role model, and they're looking for that male role model who will show them not church but God, how to be a good man, how to love a woman, how to take care of your family, how to be a provider, a protector, an inspiration. And when they get that, they are going to be ready to be good husbands.
Tell me what community is, Darren, because Scully spoke about community and that her husband is part of, I love it, Goodfellas, part of a group called the Goodfellas. But what is community for you as a man, as a 50-year-old man? Is it different? I'm going to compare it to Tara's definition of a community. Are we as men and women looking at what that word community is very differently?
I believe so. I think, so community for men, it seems, from my perspective anyway, because I've just learned that actually I need to stop speaking for everyone and start speaking for myself. So community for me is knowing that there are people who share my worldview. And if they don't share my worldview exactly, the people I can rap with who can help me to shape my worldview. So community for me is my friends are wherever they are and I can reach them in a myriad of ways. But also that community changes wherever I am. As a school teacher, it's kind of challenging because a lot of my community is actually with kids who are under the age of 16 and 18, which is really weird. But yet they form part of my community and they shape who I am as a human as well. And so depends on the man, I think, what kind of community looks like for them. And I think a lot of the times what church does is try to describe exactly what community should be like, when actually it just forms. I think community is organic, and it changes to suit where you are sometimes, and it's just all types of things at all types of times, and the experience in your house might be different to the experience in someone else's house, and I think we have to allow for that to happen.
So that would apply to you as a man in a community.
Yeah.
You would say it's organic.
Yeah.
You're learning from each other.
Yeah.
It's forever changing.
Yeah. I mean, imagine this. I've got friends that I barely speak to, but when I do, it's almost like we spoke yesterday, and that's really cool. Whereas I don't know if this is true for all women, but I notice sometimes if women don't talk to each other, there's a little bit of, well, I don't talk to her anymore. I'm not really gonna. The dynamic changes. All of a sudden, it's become a bit frosty.
You don't call me anyway.
Yeah, like,
my good friends are the ones like yours who I don't have to contact. But you're right. Women are more high maintenance, if it's fair to say that, generally speaking.
Yeah. And we're cool with that. And I think church is tiring, literally tiring, because you kind of have to do the small talk constantly. And if you're just a guy who wants to sit in a corner and just have a straight face because you're contemplating everything you could contemplate, church isn't a place for you to do that. Because I'm like, what's wrong? No, I'm just sitting here. But why don't you? Why don't you sing? Like,
are you far from God, brother?
Yeah, I just want to sit here. Can I just sit here?
Yeah.
So eventually, if you can't be yourself in this place, then I will go to a place where I can be.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm just thinking back to when we used to go to a smaller church back in the day, and we used to leave. Curtis used to leave on time to get to church for 9:30. Can you believe that? I forgot how 9:30 church looks. But he used to go to church and be on time for 9:30 for Sabbath school, and we would just be on our way, following him after in the car, with spare clothes for the kids and a spare dress for me in case they vomited on me, 2 pots of rice in the boot. And I would get to the traffic lights and say, where am I going? Like, this has taken so long just to get here because I've just done so much in the morning. Worn out by the time I got there. Come in the doors and my husband is just finishing Sabbath school and he's got all the energy. And then we come for divine service, which is when I've just arrived. So I'm sitting down ready to hear the sermon, which is the most important part of the service for me. It was then. And where's my husband? Outside. The door's chatting to someone. And I started to see a pattern every time a preacher got up there, he was out, he was gone, he was outside, and I'm just there, why are you outside? That's so good. We've come to church, you need to be in the church. And then I realized after a couple of years that it was even about his learning style. His learning style was not one what would sit there and just take in a message and just be spoken at for, and I'm talking about churches that we went to, you'd be spoken at for about an hour and 20 minutes. He just didn't have the wherewithal for it, so it was like, I'm going outside. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to go and have a meaningful conversation with somebody at the door. I couldn't understand it. For me, it was like, this is bringing shame to our family. Do you know what I mean? We're not sitting together. We're not having church together. Because that was, and then I've realized over the years that that's how he thrives and that's how it works for him. And that was him getting community with one person in the corridor. And my community was slightly different than his. So I say that to say, Tara, how does a community of for you as a woman, how do you define community? Does it differ to what Darren has just said?
I mean, I wouldn't disagree with anything you said. For me personally, like, it feels organic. Like, moving to London from Australia was kind of just like, well, we just land in pockets and places. I mean, we were intentional about, finding a church community, sure. But the friends that you make along the way, you don't ever really single out, no, I will definitely be friends with that person and that person. It kind of just happens sporadically. So I think, like, I kind of resonate with that community is pretty random, and you want to, share your worldview, because that's how you feel attuned with people, where you kind of, you get me, okay, great. So I feel like you feel the safest when you're around people that can understand you. So that, and it is hard to define, isn't it? Because it happens where it happens. Community is just a pocket of people that you can, be yourself in. And I think that kind of makes me think, as we were talking, is how sometimes church is so, like, clean and refined and so polished, and community isn't. And so it's this real, like, juxtaposition, contradiction, kind of trying to fit the two together. When we say, come as you are, but do we really mean come as you are? Because we've got a set thing to get through, and it's got to look like this. So, I don't know. That's why I feel like church as a community is more than the service one day a week, and it's got to be throughout. It's an organism of all kinds of different things happening throughout. But a place where you feel welcome, where you feel like you want to be there. That's the other thing. Community doesn't feel forced. You feel like, I want to be here and connect and hang out and linger. I just want to linger here. Yeah.
Love that. Thank you. So where are they? You guys still haven't answered my question. Maybe give me some places or some spaces. Where do you think they are?
So men are wherever men need to be right now, which is in the pub, in the homes, in their workplaces. They are everywhere but where we want them to be. And why do we want them to be there? I think that's the actual question. Why do we want men in church? Because when you answer that question, then we've got an issue. Because if you just want men in church so your numbers look good, then let's not invite them. If you want men in church because there's something that you're lacking that men can provide, then that's a powerful reason for asking where are the men. But if you just want men just so you can say, we've got 50% and we're doing okay, then good for you.
Ooh.
You're saying, ooh.
You have just hit the nail on the head. I'll tell you why I say that. Because we have this myth, and I'm so glad you busted it earlier with your contribution. We have this myth that if a body is inside of a church, it must be in relationship with God, it must be saved, it must be superior to the body that is outside. And that's what happens to a lot of women in my life who have associated the location of a man physically with the location of his heart. And we do that because then we are conforming to the expectation that we're not unevenly yoked and that do you know what I mean? And it's all that stuff. So even if my man is worse than the worst man on the street, if he's in church, there is something about him being acceptable.
Yeah.
And from the men as well, we have to be acceptable to go into that church then, that's the
but you can look at, you can be
mentality.
acceptable physically on the outside.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can play all the right, you can make
That's
all the right
right.
sounds, but then you could treat a woman or even yourself in a way that doesn't reflect that you are loved by God.
Wow.
Yeah.
A lot of the friends that I have kind of share this sort of like, funny relatability kind of thing, in that it tends to be that the woman in the relationship is so good at compartmentalizing and showing up. Yeah, we just had a fight, but everything's fine. How are you? Oh my gosh, good to see you. And the guy can't mask it, and he's like, yeah, I'm good. Hi. And it's just so obvious, like it's written all over your face that you guys just clashed. And I wonder if that kind of like, I don't know, maybe that's just big generalization, it could be. But maybe it's not, and maybe that's why like women are socialized to show up no matter what's happening. And so we go to church and we show up and life's great, yeah. But maybe men aren't socialized to do that so much. And so when it comes to going to church when you don't feel like it, they don't. And fair enough. Maybe it's not a place that they feel like they can go in a spot like in a you know, emotional spot like that. Whereas women feel like we kind of just have to mask it and go ahead with it and pioneer. And yeah, it's fine. We're gonna tick the box. God is good. Yeah, yeah. But it's just interesting because like the gospel is not is gender neutral. It's not like there's nothing. The Bible is gender neutral. There's not like this for women specifically and that for men specifically. Jesus is for everybody. Yeah. And so it does make you wonder, like when it comes to where are men in church specifically, well, it can't be about, well, I was going to say it can't be about what church is there for, but many churches might have different reasons for functioning as a church. But if a church was there for the true core reason as like we're here to share Jesus Christ and we're here to come as believers collectively, if that was their reason for being, then it doesn't really make sense. Like, where are the men then? Because we all need to, you know, come together as believers and we all need Jesus. So it's kind of like, oh, I don't know, we're in that sort of sense.
And that might be the challenge. Jesus might be the problem. Ooh. Let me rephrase that, because Jesus is definitely not the problem. The perception of who Jesus is could be the problem. The presentation of Jesus through the church could be the problem. And our understanding of who Jesus is as men through the church could be the problem, if that makes sense. Let me unpick that, because everyone's just looking at me like, what am I talking about? In other words, Jesus is my Lord and Savior, and I know who he is. I also know who the Father is. I've come to accept that the image that is portrayed by the world is not who Jesus is. And I've understood that because my relationship with reading the Word of God has gotten me to a place where I've gone, Jesus had to come and show the world what he was like because the world didn't quite get it. So I've had to encounter Jesus to know what Jesus is like. And so sometimes when I go to church, I don't see Jesus. So I need to have a relationship with Jesus so that I know who Jesus is before I even step into the building, because that's what sustains me. That's what keeps me coming back. Because if I go to church looking for Jesus and I don't find him, then what? I don't go back ever again and I'm disgruntled with Jesus. Well, I can be disgruntled with the Jesus that the world gave me, but I'm not going to be disgruntled with the Jesus who is. And so I think that is our challenge, is to allow Jesus to live in us properly and allow himself to be seen through us, not for us to go, actually, no, I actually prefer this picture of Jesus. I like the Leonardo da Vinci Jesus, but actually I like the black man Jesus, or I like the Asian Jesus. Like, no. Let's just make Jesus as he is, and then let the cars fall where they may. And I think there's a challenge in that as a church, sometimes we are trying to paint Jesus in a particular way that ticks our boxes and makes him comfortable for us. Whereas actually, when I read the Bible, it's very uncomfortable most of the time, if not all of the time. So,
interesting observation. I like the Bible AI, and there was a particular image where Jesus was like coming down, but I went after his muscles, but yeah, he was really strong, and he had like that like a fire in his eyes. But it was like, this is such a contrast to what we see. It's like in the image, it was like, I'm not playing. Do you know what I mean? I love you guys, but I'm also very serious. And I can also be loving at the same time. It's like the image was all encompassing. And it was like, I know it's just an image and it's just an AI perception of it, but it just gave me a different take to the Robert Powell that we've seen on TV growing up, where he didn't smile, he had a stoic face and everything was him floating, you know, in the air. He didn't have no sense of humor. He just wasn't relatable. But that image just felt like it was encompassing something quite superhuman in a way. Yeah. And I really enjoyed that. It really changed some of my perceptions of who I believe he is, and the images that I conjured up in my mind. My question is do we need men here?
Yes.
Like, why have them? Why is it an issue that we have a lower percentage of men coming? Like, do we really need them here?
We need everybody. I believe in this idea that everybody brings a different flavour, a different perspective. And it's not just about having just men, it's having men of different ages. It's having women of different ages, it's having men of different race and ethnic backgrounds, it's having men who've different lived experience, men who've grown up in different socioeconomic statuses. It's having a wide range of it because everybody brings a different perspective. And I believe that when somebody is missing, the community doesn't quite feel complete to me. It's one-dimensional.
You've hit the nail on the head for me, Scully, because I mean, I work with children, and like children need these role models. You mentioned earlier role models, but they don't just need one type of male role model, right? They need the old one, the young one, the strong, big masculine one, the more feminine one, the one, you know what I'm saying? So you're right, they do. We need more diversity in church.
I'm so glad on video you said I'm right.
I love that. It's on record.
It's on record now.
Wow, that would be sold. That's gold.
I liked what you were saying earlier because it kind of reminded me of like my husband in church, and maybe you, Callan, as well. Like you guys are here because, I mean, maybe there's other reason, but you're obviously here because you love Jesus. Because there's not many other guys for you to kind of hang out with and connect with. So you're obviously here because you're just like, this is where I need to be. Not necessarily it's always where I'd like to be. Because a lot of the time, my husband's dilemma is, I haven't got any mates. Like it's me and like 5 other women again hanging out, like, or doing a Bible study, or like, yeah, I mean, I love you, Tara, and like all our friends are great, but they're all women. And I could understand on the reverse, like it would kind of suck if it was me and Lockie's mates, and maybe they're my mates as well, but they're all guys. Like that would kind of suck a bit. So if you're coming like week after week, day after day to whatever community church event, and it's all one gender, it would kind of get to you at times, and you would have to just be there because you're sticking it out because you know who Jesus is. Yeah, bit of a rough one for you blokes.
Yeah, I would say we need men simply because imagine a body without a heart, or lungs, or blood, or feet, or ankles. Like we need men because they are not all those things, but they are some of those things, just as much as we need women. So this isn't a either or, this is a both. Interestingly, again, on this journey with the Holy Spirit, I believe it's Holy Spirit anyway, I've begun to realize that some of our analogies of what church is are rubbish. Church is a hospital, rubbish. Because no one ever leaves and no one ever gets better. Yeah. So that's a rubbish hospital.
I love that.
So there's only one.
I'm still sick.
I'm still sick. There's only one analogy that works, and it's from the Bible. Church is a body. Yeah. That is it. We don't need any other analogies. It is a body, and it must function fully with all its parts. So if the body is sick, it's because something is lacking. And so we need men because that is what is lacking.
Yeah, and you can hear that when we have more interactive sessions at church, you can hear the different perspectives that people bring. Yeah. And I'm not saying there's one male perspective or one female perspective. Obviously there are multiple, but when there are no male perspectives, we're missing some insights. Because Jesus, going back to your point, Jesus was for men and for women, right? But Jesus created us in his image, and there are parts of him that you guys can reflect and parts of him that we can reflect, and that's missing.
Is there something that we can do within our body that can make it more inclusive for men and for them to stay? And the reason why I'm asking that is because bringing it back to relationships, for us to continue, we're going to need to have relationships. We're going to need to have relationships. Some of us will procreate and produce more children, but we're going to have to do that in order for humanity to continue, in order for the church to even grow. So is there something that we can do here to make it more inclusive for men, or to make them want to be here, to stay? Is there something that we can, apart from the supernatural?
Okay.
What can we do?
It's always the supernatural. It's always the Holy Spirit.
It is.
The reason why I did that was the first thought in my head, which is because what we're doing at our church right now is we're just growing ourselves and letting the Holy Spirit do the rest of the work. We're like, we are going to fix up who we are. Well, I am. I don't know about anyone else, but that's what I'm going to do, because I've realized that actually we spend a lot of time on others and trying to fix their problems rather than fix our own. And actually, I think we need to challenge our worldview. We need to challenge our church view. We need to rip up the model of church, like desperately. Jesus was in the synagogue, and then he was doing what Curtis was doing. He was outside of the synagogue talking to people because that's where it mattered. He needed to be where the people were. I think we've got to just rip up the model. And it's dangerous to rip up the model because then now what? Like, we've been doing this for centuries, yeah, but we've got a problem. We basically can have TED Talks all over the world. The church is not the best at what the church does at the moment. People are doing it better. So we've got to do what we do the best, and we've got to know what that is. And so we've just got to rip up the model and find out what it is that we can do. I believe that church has got to be an open space for people to come in and to feel safe, regardless of who they are, however they look. That someone can just come in and sit down and be transformed because they're allowed to be who they are, but knowing that who they are is not enough. They have to be transformed. If you can come in and stay as you are, then church hasn't worked. If you can come in and you don't want to be there because it makes you uncomfortable and you don't like that, church has worked. And that's controversial. I say that because church is supposed to make you feel uncomfortable because it's supposed to make you want to change. And it's supposed to make you desire a relationship with the one who can change you. So that's what we've got to do. We've got to allow people to come in and be uncomfortable, but at the same time not tell them to come in feeling comfortable first off, because that's the problem. We want everyone to come in with a particular dress code, and then all they're doing is hiding their discomforts. So what happens? Nothing. I've hidden my discomforts. I'm comfortable now. I'm good. I can go out, take off my discomforts, and just take off my clothing that hides my discomforts and be uncomfortable again. But I'm no longer in a place that makes me uncomfortable because my home doesn't make me feel uncomfortable. But I want to change. How am I going to know I need to change unless I'm uncomfortable?
So how does that look practically?
I saw a podcast, a little clip from it, where these men were asking other men, what would it take to go have a coffee with a stranger? And they were all like, that is the most uncomfortable thing ever, not on my life, no. The point being, that's kind of a scary thing for men to sit down one-on-one, talk in an intimate setting like that. And my point is, or their point even, was action. Action is important for men, doing something. And
that's not putting away the chairs after the service.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Is it not?
No, I'm joking, but obviously, actually genuine action where we feel useful. We need to be useful. Yeah, it is, I'm sure, but a little bit deeper than putting chairs away. We need to be doing something for the cause of the reason we're here, which is for the Lord, right? What can I do with my hands that can help more than just putting, because I think, and I know obviously you're joking, but when we're reduced to chair stackers, it really cuts deep underneath, of course, and we go, I wish I was more useful than being able to put the chairs away. I wish I could use myself for something. And on the flip side, I will say though too, you kind of, I don't want to make big statements, but you do have to be careful, because then you turn into the coffee club church and the church that does the thing in the market, and the church, and we turn into these clubs of churches where, they do that, they do it that way, they do it that way, and you end up with new problems. And my last little caveat I will say is, it's kind of tricky because you might say, okay, we'll have these men groups, right? Let's go to the football together. What about men like myself who do not find football interesting? You know what I mean? So it's a real tricky thing to try and find common interests between generations, it's tricky, it's complex.
I don't know how I would make it look literal, but, I could give literal examples of this, but I think like any church that, if I can make this generalization, that is sort of quote unquote dying, is lacking mission in terms of going out and sharing what they know.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's the antidote to all of our issues
Give a
in
man
the
a
churches.
mission.
Is we need to get out and we need to share the gospel. And I'm like, I wonder, like, if I can get out and I can share the gospel, what would that look like? And I think, like, any church that is maybe there's an element to, I don't know, a lot of my girlfriends will network and they're like, hey, come along, yeah, come along. And they feel like they can invite all their girlfriends in to whatever church-related things are happening. Is that the same for the guys? Can they feel like they can do that? Do they even want to do that? And yeah, there you go.
Sorry, I don't want to cut you off. The amount of churches I've been to, and I sit there and I feel secondhand embarrassed because I'm just imagining.
Yeah, right.
If I was to bring someone
Yeah,
to this
what you
place
might
for the
think.
first time, oh, I'd be so uncomfortable. I've grown up in this. I know when to stand and sit and when to kneel and all of that. But, ooh,
Yeah.
why
It's
is
just not
this
really a good
environment
setting.
not conducive to a good time for someone who's never been before? Yeah.
I want to kind of bring this into the not lose the relationship element of it. So are our men who are here already, are they ready for marriage, for committed relationships and or marriage? Are they ready for that, in your opinion? Just throwing it out there, your own opinion. So let me start with you, Scully.
In my opinion, some of them are not ready, but the beautiful thing is, to the ones that I speak to, they tell me, I'm not ready, but I'm working on it. I'm working towards it. Going back to your point about the Holy Spirit, just sitting with God and letting God show you who you are and letting God prepare you. And I always, when one of those young men say that to me, I always say, I'm also going to pray that she's getting ready too, so that you'll both meet at the right time. Because then, I mean, I knew my husband 10 years before he approached me for a relationship. And yeah, when I was 14, I absolutely fancied him. But was I ready for him? No, I wasn't ready for him. And I wasn't ready for him in that 10 years preceding us getting together. But I'll tell you that when we did get together, it was the right time. And so you don't have, even my point is, even if they're not ready, if they're open to God, if we're open to God making us ready, whether we're male or female, God will make us ready.
Are we sending that message though through the church that, you know, maybe it's there is a period of getting
Self-preparation. I don't know if we do that enough. I know that you and Curtis do that when you do your counselling, and I whisper it to people because I'll have some young ladies from 3 decades of young ladies, actually from 20s right up to 40s, saying, oh, you know, I just need a man, and I want my husband. And I'm looking at her and I'm like, sis, you're not ready for your husband. You're not in this state. You're not ready for your husband. So it's that honest conversation with God about, God, can you help me to get where you want me to be? And I don't think we give that message enough, because I think we come from it, and it's not so much now, but I know certainly I came from a generation. I remember my grandma said to me, I was only about 22. She said, she said this to me in Debele. She said, oh, you know, you've been learning so much. You know, it's time to put those books down and find a husband, because that was what she knew. You know, by 22, I don't know if she's like on kid number 2 or kid number 3. You know, and so I think that some of us who've grown up with those traditional backgrounds have been taught that if you get to 25 and you don't have a man, there's something wrong with you, or you don't have a woman, there's something wrong with you. Do you know what I mean? So it's about flipping that narrative a little bit for this generation.
You see, when you spoke of your gran, I'm thinking of my gran. She used to literally like just shake me out of my sleep. I'm like about what, 20, 21, and she used to say in her eloquent solution accent, wake up, you need to hoover. Come on, go and make breakfast for your husband. I'm like, I ain't even got a boyfriend. But she was trying to prepare me. Do you know what I mean? I didn't know it was. I was just annoyed that she was waking me up, and I was annoyed that there was this candle she had flickering all through the night, and she had this like statue of the Virgin Mary, which would be enlarged by by the shadow of, and that would scare me all night. And then you're just like shaking me out of my sleep. I'm thinking it's like Mary's just going, get up, over.
But that's what
And
they
it was
believed.
a preparation.
That's what she believed. She thought she was doing the right thing
so strongly.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's I understand exactly. It just I resonated with it. I was like, oh, my gran did the same thing in her own way. Do you know what I mean? Kind of like same question, just throwing it out there. What are we doing to ready our men for relationships? Is it our business? Should we be doing it anyway? Is it something we should be concerned about when they're not?
It's intriguing because I thought about how I became a dad, as in obviously the biology of it is obvious, but I became a dad when I had children. And there was no preparation for it. You cannot prepare for parenthood without having children. Like, you literally think you can. Like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, but then you're thrust into these situations. And every single time a new child has come into our lives, it's been different, and there have been challenges to deal with. I think it's the same with marriage as well. I thought I was ready for marriage. Marriage was ready for me.
Yes. Ready to turn you.
Yeah, I discovered who I am because I got married. And it feels like it feels like what we're saying is one size doesn't fit all, that some people need relationships to find themselves, some people don't. But what I'm worried about is sometimes that some people are so desperate to be in relationships that they grab the first available space, and then God is no longer necessary to them, because in their desire to want marriage, they want marriage way more than they want God. And so for Christians, women, I think they've got to get comfortable with knowing that God is enough, and let God provide, and let God prepare the man. It might just be, and this is so dangerous, that God wants you to prepare the man in marriage. And so you're going to have to take the rough cut diamond, and you're going to have to watch the rough cut diamond become this beautiful, sparkling thing. But you're going to have to deal with the fact that you are going to be the chisel as much as he's going to be the chisel on you.
Love that.
That's quite scary.
I'm smiling as you say that, because I remember, because I know you can't tell, but I used to be a real tomboy. I wasn't a very feminine lady.
Me neither.
And then that's why I can relate.
Yeah.
But I remember Antonio saying to my mum, "Don't worry, Mum, I'm going to polish her. I'm going to polish her for you." And she was like, "Oh, thank you, my darling." And you know, it was a bit of a joke for a long time that he was going to turn me into a lady. You know, 20-something years on, bless him, he's tried. But, you know, but when you said that, it just reminded me of that. And so I don't think that's even a gendered thing. I think that's a human thing that you've said. So
I just think it's really important that we don't get so caught up in wanting that. So I know of people who were so desperate for a marriage, so desperate for children, they've left God, or they've left church, because that was their focus and that was their drive. It wasn't, I want a relationship with God no matter what it was. They left God. And I think that's probably some of the reasons why we feel that men aren't committed. And they probably aren't, because men are committed, trust me, they are. They're committed to what they want. And sometimes relationships and children are not in their agenda, but the things that make those things are in their agenda. So we think, he wants me. No, he wants what you can offer, because that's not in his agenda. His agenda is, I want a car, I want a house, I want this and I want that. And church doesn't provide any of those things for him. So why am I going there? Like, why am I here? If I'm trying to make money, why am I at church? Church don't make no money for me. Church tells me to rely on God. What for?
Or give my money.
Or give my money to God.
give my money.
Yeah. And then I was in a barber shop yesterday, and there's a guy in there who basically said he's not going to church because, one, the messages that come are that we must be poor down here while the white man is rich up there. And we give our money to the pastor and he's rich, but he's telling us to be poor. It's like, well, I'm not going there because I want money. And so straight away I know I can't have an argument with him about money and all of the things that I believe that God offers, because they're not providing anything for him. And so he's committed. He's a hardworking man. He's committed. But is he committed to one woman? I don't know. He may not be. He might be. Who knows? But what I do know, he is committed, just not to the thing that women want, which is, are you committed to me?
Okay. I wanted to bring in the culture here, and we're going to land the plane soon. But the culture is maybe sending a message, and it's not all negative, but just about the empowerment of women, which is a good thing. But on the flip side, it's like work hard and work very hard. Get yours, get yours, get yours. Get as much as you can, and it remains yours. Like when you meet him, this is what you bring in. It's all yours. It's what you've worked for. It's your worth. It shows your credibility. Even your kind of being attractive is based on how much you're accumulating. And then with that accumulation comes standards, and the standards are getting higher and higher and higher. Maybe the expectations are very unreasonable to what is out there, or to what is even in the church. Maybe what would you say to young women who have this kind of perception of a man, or even some kind of dreamy superhero figure that will come in and solve all their problems, never give them, you know, any issues with a wet towel on the bed, always have the dishes done, you know, provide, have a 6-figure salary, 6 foot tall, 6-pack and 6 whatever. And how do we speak to young women and say to them, maybe that's not quite realistic. It's actually maybe 1% of men who actually fit that description. But they still have that expectation. They will sit in church and in the same church expecting that figure to walk through the door. What would we say to that young woman, Tara?
Ooh. Maybe, I don't know. Because I didn't really have a particular image in mind when I was looking to get married. I just wanted someone that really understood me and got me, and yeah, we'll fight it through together no matter what, kind of thing. And I'd probably just, resonate with, or repeat kind of what we've been saying, which is that you find yourself together, you work together in that marriage or in that parenthood. And while there is that notion that we need to work on ourselves individually, like before we meet the person that we marry, that kind of thing, or just always, we should be, you know, not sitting stagnant or sitting in mediocrity when God aspires us to have an abundant, fulfilling life and a transformative heart, a transformed heart. So while all that is good, working on ourselves, maybe we take it a step too far, and I would probably say maybe you've taken it a step too far in thinking that, okay, now we've reached this state of perfection, and then we find each other, and you look like this, and I look like this, physically and emotionally, and then we get married, and life is perfect, happily ever after, fairy tale. But it's not like that. So it's prettier than that, in fact, because it's more than the superficial, and you actually get to do it together in terms of, like you said, refining one another. I don't think that you go into a relationship and you just put all the problems on the table and you say, fix it. No. But there's that intentionality of like, we're two different people and things might come up in our relationship that are really tricky, but I am committed to you and you're committed to me to making it work no matter what. And we love each other so deeply. And whatever way, you know, whatever happens in life, no matter how, whatever physical changes might happen to you or I, we're dedicated to one another. I feel like that's an even more rich kind of love. Like, I want that kind of love, not a, I don't know, he's 6 foot tall, 6-pack kind of thing. I mean, my husband's pretty attractive, but but like that, the superficial is like, aspire for more than that. Aspire for more than that in your future marriage or whatever it is,
Love that. I'll be hearing us, ladies. Let me get this take from you. What would you say to a young woman? I mean, I know you teach younger children, but say if there was you just happen to do a lecture for like 25-plus-year-olds.
Sure.
What would you say to the woman who comes and stops you after the lesson and says, "Sir, can you help me because he hasn't walked through the door yet, and I've got this list, but where is he?"
Yeah, look, I feel super unqualified to answer that question because I'm single, and it's always, young marrieds love to give this lecture to you, by the way, so I can tell you what they tell me. It's not about the list. No, but I think men have this problem too, right? You're asking where are the men, I'm asking where are the women, right? But the problem is not that there's no women, statistics are telling us apparently. The problem is I don't know what I'm looking for. I don't know how to look. What's a relationship? What am I supposed to do? Oh, we have a relationship panel coming up. That's the solution. If I have to listen to another one, no, I personally do. I do quite enjoy those, but I hear a lot of my single friends say, "Oh, another relationship panel or another one," where it's these married people telling us how great their marriage is because they're doing these things. So I'm kind of saying through this, well, I don't know what I would tell her, but I would maybe suggest to her that, I don't know, I'm drawing blanks here, I'm not sure. Come help me once you've worked it out, lady, because I don't know either.
We'll go to the run club.
But what, I guess it's the education from somewhere that's missing, or is it? Am I just not engaging in it? Maybe it is there, the panels are there. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure, sorry.
I thought you were going to say, I'm here, lady.
I was going to make that joke, but
I'm the list. I'm the list.
Call him.
His name is Callum.
Scully, let me get your take.
It's really hard. Like Callum says, I feel like a hypocrite because I had this conversation with some young ladies about 10 years ago saying, you know, it's about personality. And they said, it's all right for you to say when your husband's good looking. Do you know what I mean? And it's true. I mean, my husband's good looking and I can say it's about personality, but I needed to be attracted to him. I'm sorry. And the fact that he was over 6 foot was helpful. Physically, I you know, it was important to me that he looked good, right? So I can't then, like a hypocrite, say to other young ladies, well, you know, it's all about what's inside. But I think what I would say to a young lady is that she should slow down for long enough to know what's really important to her, not just today, but what's going to be important to her in 10 years' time. And is that man someone who she can work with to get there? And if he is, then go for it. And even if he is 6 foot with the 6 figures and the 6-pack, and if she doesn't think that he's going to get her there in 10 years, then she has to have the courage to let him go.
Wow. That's a difficult one.
Yeah, it's hard, but that's what I would honestly say to the girls that I love, because I've seen the girls who have gone with all of that superficial stuff and the stuff that looks good on the paycheck, and they're unhappy. They're genuinely unhappy.
So my final question to you is, what can we do as a body to involve men, to include men? I've heard the statement that church is feminine, it's feminized through the music we choose, through the way we construct services, from the door to the pulpit. It's a feminine experience. How can we make that masculine? Can you just hold the thought for me though? Okay. Miles can just hold it. Sorry, Curtis has got to move the car. Kurt, so when you go out, this is marriage. when you go out, yeah, go left where we went before, and then, oh gosh, left, right? Hang on a minute.
So the question is, God, is what do we do as a church?
What can we do as a body?
As a body.
Yeah, you're right, Miles. Can we continue?
Yeah. What can we do as a body to?
What can we do as a body to include men?
Okay.
In the body, make them feel accepted, feel part of the community, all
Okay.
the good stuff we've spoken about, but then also to be ready for committed relationships and marriage.
What can we do? Stop telling men how they need to be, and start accepting them for who they are. So that means we just need to be open to whoever comes in the doors. Now, obviously, that's dangerous because we know the world is full of dangerous people. But we're smart enough to know you are not welcome in this space because you are a threat to XYZ in this building, so you can't come in. But we're also smart enough to know that we can help someone to become who they are. But I'd like to twist it and say, I'm going to talk to the men who are out there saying that if church doesn't do what you want it to do, inject it, because that's what's missing. If you can see something is lacking in a place, put it in there. That's literally what I've done. Like, my church is the way it is from my perspective because I do it. I don't go, ooh, what we should do is, and then hope that Callan will turn up one day and do it for me. No, the church needs to, I'm on it, literally on it, because that's the only way I can live. I believe that God called me into church for that sole reason. And I think that the challenge that I think that men have, and I have to call out men on this, is that they're not willing to do that work for themselves or for others. So they look at church and they go, well, the church is just full of hypocrites. I used to say that. Okay, then go in there and don't be a hypocrite. Like, the church has too much women in there. Well, duh, obviously, because you're not going, so go. Like, any problem that you see that is in your head is a problem that you're supposed to fix. So it's easy to go, church, fix this, fix that. But if the church is predominantly women, the church is going to be feminine. That's the reality of it all. When the balance is right, the church will change. And if it doesn't, then we're going to have another discussion about something else. But right now, I want men to kind of go, okay, God has put something in my heart, I'm going to walk with it, even though it's uncomfortable. Or I'm not. And then there'll just be more women in heaven than the men.
How do we ready the same men then for relationships? Is
How
that,
do
is
we
that
ready
for
the
us to
same
do?
men?
Is that our
No,
business?
it's not us. It's not our business. It's not our business simply because how do you get ready for something like a relationship other than working on yourself? And how do I help you to do that other than you allow me to do that for you? So I'm not going to sit down now after this meeting and say, Callan, right, let's get you a list. And this is what I'm going to do for you. Like, Callan has to say, I want this from you. Because then, otherwise it won't work. I mean, it works the same way with God. If God says, Darren, I want you to go left, and I go, actually, no, I'm going to go right. God can do all the things that make me go right as much as put me in a fish. But if I decide even when I'm spat out of the fish that I'm still getting right, I'm still going right. Like, I'm literally doing what I want to do. It's when I yield to what is available to me that things start to change.
He's talking about Jonah, by the way, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about Jonah, sorry. Yeah, I
Yeah,
do
no,
that all the
that's all
time.
right.
Just talk about Bible characters like they're, everybody knows who they are.
I know. Listen, guys, it has been a game changer because I don't think anything like this has been captured in terms of us really breaking up an issue, as I said at the beginning, which is on the tips of our tongues, or on the tips of many women in our congregation, their tongues. Where are the men? What are they doing? What are they up to? There's no one here today. And I just wanted to kind of close with the fact that me and Curtis always have this kind of joke, and we put the TD Jakes voice so it says, he's in the room, he's in the room, he's in the room. I will run out of breath if I do it again. He's in the room. I think sometimes the 35% and his climate are actually here. But what's happening is that we're still looking out of the glass doors for something better. We're actually, I always say the best place to find your potential partner is within community, because you get to see them in all different shades, in all different ways. You get to see when someone rubs against them in the wrong way. You get to see when they're helpful. You get to see when they're not feeling great. When you spoke about, you know, how kind of multifaceted the community is and how organic it is, it's the best place to view somebody who could be your potential without them knowing you're viewing them. Not in a stalkerish way, do you know what I mean? But in quite a natural way. And just to say, you know, they're in the room and they're coming in, but I think we need to make more room for them in allowing them to be themselves. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for chopping up this discourse, which we've been brave enough to do so when it's been lingering for so long. And we just hope that we can go and get the frocks ready and the suits ready very soon and be walking down this aisle. No, we're not rushing to that. We just want to know what's going on. And that was the reason for this conversation. So thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Scully, can I ask you to pray for us, please?
Yeah. Father God, I want to thank you so much for the time that we've had to talk about this question. And Lord, as you work in each of our hearts and use each of us to be a better version of the person that you want us to be, I pray that as you're lifted up, we will draw all men and women to you. We ask this in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
This discussion has caused me to reflect a bit more about what I do and what I say and how I present myself to men outside of church, definitely, and also my friends. I feel like I'm going to spend a lot more time not painting everything white, but just being as multicolored and horrible sometimes it is, so that men actually realize that despite all of that, there is a beauty within Christianity, but it isn't as black and white as we like to think it is. It is messy, but it's actually worthwhile. So this discussion has kind of not brought me any closer to the truth, just kind of giving an indication that I need to do more to get closer to the truth, if you like.
I think this has sort of highlighted for me that, unfortunately, as a woman, all I can do is kind of try and be a bit of a spokesperson, a bit of a support for the men who ultimately kind of have to propel forming these communities and bringing men into the church. Really, it's up to them to be the change that they want to see.
I think I've learned that men are more than brawn, you know, here for lifting up chairs and putting them away after church, that they are actually an integral part of our community, that they are actually very much the heart the lungs, the feet. We need them, and we need them here, but we also need them to be their selves. We need them to be able to come in this community and also have a sense of belonging. And I think once they have that, they will remain, they will stay, and they will be committed to relationships. I'm not saying we have the answer yet because we're still exploring it, but I think we're on the right track to understanding initially what men need, and then looking at how, when that need is met, how they remain.
So this discussion has kind of highlighted to me, as representing the single young males in church, on this sofa at least, well, we're here in church, so let's do our part. Let's be involved. Let's be active. Let's work on ourselves. Yeah, it's really encouraged me to do that, or to strive, to do that, yeah.
I think the biggest takeaway for me is that because community is organic, we have to take it outside of the four walls for an hour and a half a week and really make an effort to build that community. Yes, men have to do it for themselves, but I think women have a role to play, and I think part of that role is not, as Darren reminded us of, insisting on how men should be, but rather accepting men as they are.